If life places obstacles in your way, listen to this story. In a cozy little farm nestled among rolling hills lived a proud and resilient rooster named Charlie. Every dawn, he greeted the sunrise with a mighty crow, his voice echoing across the land. The farm animals, from the sheep in the field to the hens in the coop, all recognized Charlie's call. It was the sound that started their day, a familiar and comforting signal that it was time to rise and tend to the farm's many needs. Charlie wasn't just any rooster. He was known for his strength and consistency, always the first to wake and the last to rest. With his bright red comb standing tall and his feathers well-groomed, Charlie took his role seriously. His responsibilities went beyond just crowing. He felt a duty to maintain order and peace among the animals. His sharp eyes often watched over them, ensuring the farm was safe and that everyone did their part. The animals admired Charlie for his dedication and sense of duty, yet there was a distance that separated him from them. Many respected him out of habit and even a touch of fear rather than deep affection. Some whispered that Charlie took his role a bit too seriously, and at times the hens would grumble that his crow was a little too early or a bit too loud. Charlie noticed these quiet remarks, though he tried to ignore them. Secretly, they bothered him more than he let on. Beneath his proud exterior, Charlie felt the pressure of his position weighing on him. Being the leader wasn't always easy. He felt he had to be perfect, to never show weakness or vulnerability. The constant responsibility and the need to always prove his worth left him feeling isolated, as though he was standing on a high, narrow perch that no one else could reach. Yet every morning, Charlie would shake off his doubts, stand tall, and crow with all his might. He reminded himself that his role was essential. After all, without his call, the farm's routine would surely fall apart. Charlie clung to the belief that his value was tied to his strength and that his role on the farm was irreplaceable. However, what Charlie didn't know was that his world was about to be shaken, and he would soon face a challenge that would test not only his strength but also his heart. And in the midst of this test, he would discover that true respect and honor aren't born out of strength alone, but something deeper, something he hadn't yet realized. The peace of the farm was disrupted one bright morning by the arrival of a newcomer, a young and lively rooster named Lino. With feathers that shimmered in the sunlight and a confidence that radiated from every step, Lino made an immediate impression. The farm animals were curious, gathering to catch a glimpse of the newcomer who strutted around with an air of charm and ease that was hard to ignore. Lino quickly won over many of them with his friendly nature, and he seemed to know just what to say to make everyone laugh or feel appreciated. Lino didn't just have charm, he had energy and talent too. While Charlie was strong and steady, Lino was agile and quick. He proposed new ways to help the animals organize their tasks, suggesting routines that were different from the ones Charlie had upheld for years. Some of the animals, especially the younger ones, were eager to follow Lino's suggestions. They found his ideas refreshing, and soon enough, murmurs of admiration spread through the farm. Charlie couldn't ignore the whispers this time. He noticed the shift in the animals' attitudes and felt an uncomfortable sensation creeping over him, one he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, he wondered if he was losing the respect of those he had led for so long. Seeing the ease with which Lino connected with the others, Charlie felt his confidence waver. What if Lino, with his fresh ideas and youthful energy, could do a better job than him? What if the animals no longer needed Charlie to lead? Day after day, Charlie found himself watching Lino, noting how quickly he adapted and how naturally he seemed to command attention. The feeling of doubt grew, turning into an ache that weighed him down. No one had openly questioned Charlie's role, but he sensed that the admiration that once surrounded him was slowly shifting. The other animals were still polite, yet there was an unspoken comparison hanging in the air, a comparison that only deepened Charlie's unease. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, a rumor spread across the farm. The animals were buzzing with excitement about a contest known as the Dawn Race, an event that would decide which rooster was most deserving of crowing at sunrise. Charlie felt a surge of panic and disbelief. He'd never had to prove his role before. It had always been his by right, a position he had earned through years of dedication. But now, with Lino's arrival, it seemed the farm was questioning the very foundation of Charlie's place. A mixture of pride and fear gripped Charlie's heart. He couldn't back down from the challenge, not when so many eyes were watching. If he refused, it would seem like he was admitting defeat, that he wasn't the leader he claimed to be. As much as he dreaded the thought of competing, Charlie knew he couldn't let himself lose face. He would have to train, to push himself harder than he ever had before, all to hold on to the position he had carried with pride. But deep down, a question lingered in Charlie's mind, one he couldn't shake. Would victory in the race really prove he was the leader the farm needed? Or was he risking everything, including his own sense of honor, just to keep a title? As the dawn race drew closer, the air on the farm buzzed with anticipation. Every animal, from the youngest chick to the oldest cow, talked about the big event. Charlie, though outwardly calm, felt a storm brewing within him. He had always believed his strength and consistency were enough, yet now, facing this contest against Lino, doubt gnawed at his heart. In the quiet moments before dawn, he found himself questioning his worth, wondering if the respect he had worked so hard to earn was slipping away. Charlie threw himself into training with an intensity he hadn't felt in years. He practiced his crow at every hour, pushing his voice to be stronger, louder, as if volume alone could prove his worth. He spent his days running up and down the fields, sharpening his endurance. But no matter how hard he trained, he couldn't shake the image of Lino, a rooster whose natural speed and agility made him nearly unstoppable. The harder Charlie pushed himself, the more he realized he might not be able to outrun Lino's advantage. One afternoon, as he trained alone, he overheard a group of animals talking nearby. They spoke in hushed voices, praising Lino's speed and bold ideas, wondering if maybe it was time for a change. Charlie froze, the words cutting into him more deeply than he expected. Was this what they really thought of him? Was his dedication no longer enough to secure their trust? As the days passed, Charlie's frustration grew. He trained harder, trying to drown out the noise of doubt, yet he couldn't help but notice how tired he felt. The weight of his role, the expectation to always be the strongest, had never felt so heavy. Every early morning and every long evening, his thoughts turned darker. He found himself questioning everything he had believed about leadership, about respect, and perhaps most painfully, about himself. One evening, as the sky blazed with the colors of dusk, Charlie stood alone by the edge of the field, watching the sun dip below the horizon. He wondered if, after all these years, he had become just a shadow of the leader he once was. If winning the dawn race was the only way to prove his value, then what did that say about everything he had done for the farm? The question lingered, but the answer felt out of reach. He gazed at the distant hills, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness, and asked himself a painful question. Was it truly the respect of the farm animals he wanted, or was he simply afraid of being forgotten? Deep down, Charlie knew the answer was more complex than he wanted to admit. Yet the fear of failure gnawed at him, urging him to keep pushing forward, no matter the cost. As he turned to leave, Charlie knew he would have to make a choice, not only about how he would face Lino, but about what kind of leader he wanted to be. And though he couldn't yet see the path forward, he sensed that this challenge would force him to confront more than just his pride. It would reveal what truly mattered in his heart. With the dawn race only a day away, Charlie felt a strange sense of stillness settle over him. He had done everything he could to prepare. Every muscle in his body ached, and his voice was hoarse from countless practices. But despite all his efforts, a question lingered in his mind, one he couldn't ignore. Was he fighting this race for the farm, or was it simply to protect his pride? That night, unable to sleep, Charlie took a slow walk through the farm, listening to the soft rustling of the animals as they slept. Passing by the coop, he saw the hens and their young chicks nestled closely together, resting peacefully under the soft glow of the moonlight. He felt a pang in his heart as he watched them, realizing that their trust in him had never been about his strength or his crow. It was about the protection and stability he had provided all these years. For the first time, Charlie allowed himself to admit that his fear wasn't just about losing a race or a title. It was about the fear of losing a part of his identity, but was clinging to that identity worth sacrificing his integrity. As he moved quietly through the farm, he reflected on what it truly meant to lead. Perhaps leadership, he realized, wasn't about holding on to power or being the loudest voice. Perhaps it was about having the courage to put the needs of others first, even if it meant stepping aside. Just then, he heard a rustle nearby. Turning, he spotted Lino, who was also awake, stretching his wings in the quiet of the night. The younger rooster's face was thoughtful, his gaze focused on the horizon, as if he too were lost in contemplation. Charlie hesitated, considering approaching him, but instead he watched from a distance, feeling a surprising sense of kinship. Lino might have been his rival in the eyes of the farm, but in that moment, Charlie understood that they were both facing the same struggle, both trying to prove something to themselves. As dawn approached, Charlie returned to his perch, feeling the familiar chill of morning settle around him. He stood there in silence, his mind clear for the first time in days. The weight he had been carrying didn't feel so heavy now, and the anger and doubt that had clouded his heart had given way to a strange, unexpected calm. With a deep breath, Charlie made a decision. He would compete in the dawn race, not to protect his pride, but to give his best, whatever the outcome. Win or lose, he would let go of the fear that had driven him and instead trust in the respect he had earned through his years of honest dedication. For the first time, Charlie felt at peace, ready to face the challenge ahead with a heart unburdened. The first light of dawn began to glow on the horizon, marking the start of a new day and a new understanding for Charlie. Tomorrow, he would stand beside Lino, not as an opponent, but as a fellow rooster, both of them driven by the same need to serve the farm. And in that realization, Charlie found a strength he hadn't known he possessed, a strength born from acceptance, honesty, and a quiet confidence that no race could ever take away. The night before the dawn race, as Charlie sat quietly reflecting on his decision, he was surprised by the gentle hoot of an owl that had perched herself nearby. She was a wise old creature, known around the farm as someone who observed everything from the safety of her high branches. She looked down at Charlie with a gaze that felt as though it could see into the deepest part of his heart. "Why so troubled, Charlie?" the owl asked softly, her voice carrying the warmth of years of wisdom. Charlie hesitated, feeling a strange comfort in her presence. "I suppose I've forgotten what it means to lead," he admitted, his voice quieter than usual. "I've spent my whole life thinking that respect came from strength and authority. But now, with this race tomorrow, I wonder if I've been leading for the wrong reasons." The owl nodded, her eyes twinkling kindly. "Leadership isn't about being the loudest or the fastest, Charlie. It's about serving others with honesty and compassion. Animals respect you, not because of your crow or strength, but because you've shown them safety and consistency." Charlie sighed, feeling the weight of his own pride and fears. "But what if they no longer see me as strong?" he whispered, voicing a fear that had been festering inside him. "What if they prefer Lino, who's younger and faster?" The owl tilted her head, considering his words. Charlie, strength fades, but integrity doesn't. Tomorrow, whether you win or lose, you have an opportunity to show the animals who you truly are. And sometimes showing kindness and humility is the greatest act of strength. Charlie felt a warmth in his chest, the words settling deeply within him. The owl was right. Perhaps his fear of losing had overshadowed his true purpose. It was as if he had been carrying a burden that wasn't his to bear, a weight that only pride had created. In that moment, he realized that respect was not something he could demand or even hold on to by force. It was a gift given freely, earned over time through actions of integrity. The owl blinked slowly, as if sensing the shift within him. Remember, Charlie, tomorrow is just a race, but how you choose to act, that's what the animals will remember. With a calm nod, Charlie thanked the owl and watched as she flew back into the darkness, her wings silent against the night. For the first time, he felt ready to face the race, not as a test of his worth, but as a chance to show his true self. The fear and doubt that had clouded his mind were gone, replaced by a steady resolve and an openness he hadn't known before. As he settled back on his perch, Charlie knew that he would run the race with all his heart. But he also knew that no matter the outcome, he would stay true to himself, embracing the wisdom the owl had shared. He would face tomorrow with humility, with compassion, and with the quiet strength that comes from knowing who he truly was. The morning light began to creep over the horizon, casting a gentle glow over the farm. In just a few short hours, he would be racing alongside Lino, but now, Charlie felt prepared for whatever the day might bring. He understood finally that his role on the farm wasn't just about leading, it was about serving with integrity. And with that, Charlie rested, ready to greet the dawn with a new sense of purpose. The sun rose over the farm, casting a warm, golden light as animals gathered to watch the long-awaited dawn race. There was a palpable excitement in the air, a mix of murmurs and whispers as everyone took their places around the field. In the center stood Charlie and Lino, side by side, their eyes focused ahead. Despite the competitive atmosphere, Charlie felt a strange calm within him, a quiet confidence rooted not in victory, but in the resolve to give his best and stay true to himself. As the race began, Charlie and Lino bolted forward, their legs moving with a powerful rhythm as they darted across the field. Charlie could hear the cheers and encouragement from the animals, but he kept his focus on the race, his heart beating steadily. Lino was fast, his strides fluid, and his energy boundless. Charlie could feel the younger rooster gaining ground, pushing the pace faster than he'd expected. Determined, Charlie dug deep, his muscles working harder as he matched Lino's speed. They raced side by side, neck and neck, the finish line still distant but drawing nearer with every powerful stride. The cheers grew louder, and Charlie felt the rush of the moment, the thrill of pushing his limits and giving everything he had. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw Lino falter. Lino's foot caught on a small stone hidden in the grass, causing him to stumble and fall, his wings flapping to regain balance but failing. Charlie saw the younger rooster hit the ground, his feathers ruffled, and his expression momentarily filled with shock and defeat. The crowd gasped, and for a split second, Charlie had the chance to surge ahead, to leave Lino behind and claim victory. It was his opportunity, the moment he had trained so hard for, the perfect chance to prove his worth to the farm. But as Charlie looked back at Lino, he remembered the wise words of the owl, and a different kind of strength rose within him. Winning wasn't what mattered, how he won did. Without hesitation, he slowed his pace, turning back to offer Lino a wing. Lino looked up, surprised and slightly embarrassed, but Charlie offered him a reassuring nod. Together, they got back on their feet, and side by side they resumed the race. The crowd fell silent, their eyes wide with amazement as the two roosters ran toward the finish line, neither one pulling ahead of the other. It wasn't about who would win, it was about running together, united in purpose and respect. As they crossed the finish line, the farm erupted in cheers, their voices echoing across the fields. But this time, it wasn't just a cheer for the winner, it was a cheer for a show of integrity and unity, a reminder that respect went beyond titles and positions. In that moment, Charlie felt a deeper sense of fulfillment than any victory could have brought him. He had proven, not just to the farm, but to himself, that true strength was measured by his actions, his choices, and his compassion. Lino looked at him, gratitude and respect in his eyes, and nodded silently. There was no need for words. They both knew what had just happened went beyond the race. For Charlie, the dawn race became more than a contest. It was a test of character, a moment where he learned that honor didn't come from a title, but from the kindness and honesty he showed others. And as he looked around at the farm animals, he knew they had witnessed not just a race, but a lesson in what it meant to be a true leader. As the cheers of the farm animals finally quieted, Charlie felt a deep sense of peace settle over him. Standing at the finish line beside Lino, he realized that the respect and admiration of the farm didn't come from his strength or his crow. It came from his choice to act with integrity. The other animals gathered around, their faces full of admiration, not just for his victory, but for his selflessness. Charlie had shown them what it truly meant to lead, and he felt for the first time that he had gained a kind of respect that no race could ever take away. Lino looked at Charlie with gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thank you, Charlie," he said softly. "You didn't have to help me. But you did. I see now why everyone respects you so much." Charlie nodded, a humble smile crossing his face. "It's not about the race, Lino. It's about what we choose to stand for. Leadership isn't just about winning or proving our worth, it's about caring for those around us." The words felt like a revelation, as though he were finally seeing his purpose in a new light. From that day forward, the farm was filled with a new sense of unity and respect. Charlie continued to greet the dawn with his powerful crow, but now he shared his role with Lino, who had earned a special place in the hearts of the animals. Together, they worked to keep the farm running smoothly, each bringing their unique strengths to their shared responsibilities. The animals respected them both, not for their titles, but for the kindness, honesty, and humility they embodied. Over time, Charlie came to understand that his true strength lay not in his crow or his speed, but in his commitment to the farm and the values he upheld. His role as a leader had been redefined, not by victory, but by compassion, and as he watched the sun rise each morning, he felt a deep gratitude for the journey that had led him to this understanding. The story of Charlie and Lino became a tale the farm animals would tell for years, a story of humility, respect, and the power of integrity. They shared it with the young ones, teaching them that true leadership comes not from competition, but from cooperation and honesty. Charlie's journey became a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories aren't about winning, they're about staying true to who we are, no matter the challenges we face. And so, as Charlie's crow echoed over the fields each dawn, it wasn't just a call to wake, it was a call to live with honor, to lead with kindness, and to remember that the respect of others is a gift, earned through actions that reflect our deepest values. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who might need a bit of inspiration today. Remember, life will bring us many races, but the most important victories are the ones we achieve with honesty and heart.